Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by my channel today. I don't have a lot of flowers going on right now in the garden, so a lot of this video is going to be about my food, but it's still fun to look at. Before we head outside for a tour of the garden, I just wanted to show you something real quick in the seed room. That's how to grow sweet potatoes from scratch. I happen to have all 4 stages in progress right now, so I can show you what each one looks like. Okay, what I have here is just an organic sweet potato from the grocery store. I've stuck toothpicks in it so that you can suspend it in water, just like this. This one has started to sprout roots in the water. So that's the next step. First, you just suspend it in the water and then it'll eventually sprout roots. This one has been growing a ton of roots. This one I've had the longest, and after that it'll sprout what we call slips. And what you would do is you would just break this off the potato right here and put it in water, just this piece. You can see there's no potato, it's just that piece that you take off, and it is also growing its own roots. It's just the piece that you pull off the potato, stick it in water, and then it grows its own root system. And all you would do is then take this and plant it in the ground or in your garden box or wherever, and it will grow sweet potatoes. Here are all my pepper starts. They are definitely ready to be planted. I'm hoping to get to that within the next week or two. I have spaces planned for them, but right now there's still other plants, cold weather plants in there. So when I take those out, these will go in. I also have a few eggplants ready. This is what's left of the seedlings that I haven't planted yet. There are a lot of things that I haven't planted yet, but most of these are perennial herbs that need a permanent home and not a garden box, or my warm weather flower seedlings, which just don't have a spot to go yet. Here's an update on the willow. This garden box is still right off our patio. It was planted maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Marigolds are blooming. Got Swiss chard in the corner. Some dill, it's oregano, kale, chives. I've interplanted some chamomile. I don't know if that'll come up or not. Some more Swiss chard, dill. That one is thyme. More kale. That is a ranunculus. I'm not sure if I'll get that to bloom or not. And chives along the back. This lavender plant here that I have tucked in with my willows needs a permanent home. I took this from a cutting and it's doing good. It's growing, so it will need a spot as well. I also tucked in some bells of Ireland seedlings. This is a cool weather flower. I don't know what they'll do, if anything. I've never grown this before. Over here is our fruit orchard. Of course, these are all really young trees and they won't bear fruit for several more years. It's a mixture of apple trees, pear trees, peach trees. I think I've got a couple nectarines. I got these in the fall, and I didn't quite know where I was going to put them yet, so I had them growing in pots. I've just recently planted them out. The daffodils are still looking very green. This is where the peppers are going to go. I know it's not ideal to move these daffodils while they're still so green, but I'm only going to give them maybe another week or two. And then I'm just going to have to move them if the foliage hasn't died back yet. I'm not sure if that happens soon or if it's more like late summer. The Swiss chard plants in here don't seem to mind. They look really good. The chives that I had down in here, they're not really taken off, but they're still alive, so we'll give them more time. The second bed here has one of my new roses in it. The variety is Strawberry Hill. It doesn't have any blooms, but it definitely has a ton of buds on it. Still have carrots here. And where the radishes were, I have planted new Swiss chard. There's still kale in the middle, another row of carrots in the back. Here's our strawberry plant. Ooh, it looks like I have one ready. That one's ready to eat. This kale has gone to flower. Which is fine, you can just cut the plant back and it'll come back. There's some marigolds in here. Still have sweet peas down here. Going a little slow. I might take this plant out. This is just another, I think it's kohlrabi. It doesn't look like it's going to form a bulb at the bottom. That's normally where it would form the bulb. It doesn't look like it's going to do that. This one might be starting right here. So I'll probably take this plant out. We can eat the leaves, and then we'll see if that helps the sweet peas do any better. This used to have ranunculus in it. I've taken all of those out, and I've planted kale in the front. The calendula in the back is really taking off. Some of these have buds. Here's one. Looks like we'll have flowers soon. Here's another one. This bed also used to be ranunculus, and now it's been planted with lettuce, Swiss chard, and there's dill down the middle. Dill is a really nice herb to grow. I love the flavor. but it also is beautiful to add to bouquets. And since it smells so nice, I love adding that in there. Here's sweet peas at the end. This spinach has gone to flower, so it needs to come out. And there's some cilantro in here. And our leeks on the end. This bed starts off with the garden peas, and they're doing really good. These white ones are called Champion of England. And then these are Magnolia tendril peas. And they're called that because they get very intricate tendrils. They're really pretty. And some of these are already putting on pods. So we'll have peas to eat here in not too much longer. This plant is as tall as me. Next to the garden peas, I do have some potatoes. And they're under this shade cloth here. There they are. And then this way, this is the stock that I planted in the last video. It's still adjusting to its new spot. Some of them are taking off faster than others, but I think they'll catch up here soon. Here's all the onions that we planted. 2 rows of stock down either side. This rose had 1 flower on it. I've already cut it off and taken it inside. But I'm thinking the variety on this is Wild Eve. I misplaced the labels when I moved these from my other house, so I'm just going to have to look at the flowers and try to figure out what they are. Now next to this rose used to be anemones. And since then I planted a lot of cool weather seedlings for flowers. These are carnations. This is something called Dara. Next to the Dara, I have baby's breath, and on the end, snapdragons. Now hopefully these will perk up a little bit once they get used to their new spot. And then this shade cloth here I have covering up that bird's nest, so I didn't bother her too much. Her nest is on the other side. It's in there. I know you can't see it, but that's where she lives. This bed also used to have anemones in it. It's always had this lettuce down here at the end, and it's still there. We've eaten a lot of it, but there's still a lot left. I've left a few anemones in just for the pollinators. They're not going to do well or anything because I've buried the stems with about 12 inches of soil when I topped off this garden bed. But here I've planted some warm weather flowers. These are celosia. And then over here I've got some zinnias. And down here on the end I have cosmos. And these are starting to flower already. These probably aren't the greatest flowers because they literally were flowering inside the seed trays. So these were ready to be planted out a while ago. Here's a kale. Here's a rose that I'm not sure the variety on. It has lots of buds. I did prune this back. It had quite a bit of black spot on the leaves, which is common, but now it looks much healthier that I pruned it back. When I prune my roses, I try to get everything out of the middle so I have a lot of ventilation and airflow through the center of the plant. Then everything kind of grows out in like a vase shape from the center. And this one in the corner is sage. This bed here has mostly cool weather stuff. There's leeks and cabbages, which are absolutely huge, and some lettuce. This cilantro is done. It's gone to flower. So I'll leave that for pollinators and then I'll take that out. When I'm ready to plant peppers, all of this will come out. And if there aren't heads on the cabbage, we can eat these leaves. They probably aren't good raw, but can make cabbage rolls with these or cut them up and put them into soups or casseroles, and they'll be delicious and very nutritious. These are huge. They're bigger than my face. Now, on the end of this is one of my new David Austin roses that I planted not too long ago. I think it's called Desdemonas. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's super pretty, so let me show it to you. All right. It's got rosebuds on it. It has also bloomed. I shared this on my Instagram today. It's so pretty. Just a very pale blush color pink with many more to come. And here's the variety, Desdemona. This first row of tomatoes, I have added a row of basil down here in the front to fill in some gaps. It won't be long before these are reaching the trellis up here. This row of tomatoes needs the trellis put up, and these are tall enough that they're going to need that soon. And on this row, I've added sage seedlings in the front and also back here along this edge. On this third row of tomatoes, I have Swiss chard down the left side and sage down the right side. I also had a few random ranunculus starts that I threw in there too. Again, I'm not sure if they'll bloom, but might as well try. These last three rows of tomatoes are the ones that had the most frost damage, so there are a lot of holes in these beds, and I'm saving these for cucumbers and squash and zucchini and pumpkins. So that's why these beds look pretty empty right now compared to all the other ones. The Wizard of Oz dahlia and the random dahlias that I planted last time are still doing well. I have some bamboo stakes holding these up that'll work for now until they get taller. This is the one I took from a cutting last year, and it's still doing okay. I don't have any sprouts from the tubers yet. One of my goals this week was to finish planting all the dahlias. I had over 140 tubers, and I've got them all in the ground. I have 6 different garden beds full of dahlias. I will mention that some of the dahlias, one of the companies I ordered from, a lot of the dahlias were very dry when I took them out of the bags. So I don't know how well of a success rate I'll have with those ones. And I don't know if it's their fault or my fault because I did not open the boxes right away. I let them sit with all my other dahlias until I was ready to plant them. So we'll see if they grow. If not, I may give that company another chance and just make sure I take the tubers out right away and make sure that they're not dry. If you can't plant your tubers right away, that's fine, but you can't let them dry out. Sometimes you have to mist them with water, kind of baby them along. But I have all the varieties written down on these stakes. I think it looks kind of creepy, but once everything sprouts up, it won't look so weird. All the peonies look pretty good. You're not supposed to cut the blooms off the first couple years, but I couldn't resist. I had some big white fluffy ones on here that I did end up taking off. This one has another bud. This one right here has one. And you can see there's ants on this. I don't know if you can see them. See the ants? Peonies produce a sweet sap that ants like. It doesn't mean that there's a problem with your plants. Just have to knock them off or rinse them off before you take them inside. I also have some asparagus starts over here. And in the fall, I'll hopefully have a permanent place ready for these that I can plant them out and quit moving them around so they actually grow. If you look at these shorter boxes, which is what I've added this spring, I've almost doubled the capacity of the garden. And these front 6 will have food, and then the other 5 that I've added, well actually it's 6, will have dahlias. The potatoes are doing really good too. Alright, that's it for today's tour. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.